a show I enjoyed a lot more than I'm Perfect Strangers, Sex Education season 3, and I think we really enjoyed season 1. Huge surprise, but something that very like welcome surprise a few years back. Season 2, I think we felt was a little bit more like middling, but still an enjoyable season of TV. I think where this show really thrives is mixing in uh, serious topics, representation with um, humor and
Yeah.
lightheartedness, and it's a really like it walks that line really well. And season 3 continues that, and I think actually elevates itself a little bit. While some of the season, and especially all the stuff with Gemma from uh, Girls, I'm forgetting her name all of a sudden.
Jemima Kirk.
Who?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
Shemima. Yeah,
new head teacher comes to the school to clean up its public image.
yeah. With some of the stuff with Jemima Kirk in this season, I was just like, this is a little too much. Like, I don't know, like bad, like evil headmaster-ish
Yeah.
type of
Umbridge from
thing.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I still think some of the story arcs of this season are the best that the show's ever done. It was operating at a really high level. How did you feel about season 3 of Sex Education?
Yeah, I agree. I think the beauty of the show is that it's put the time in to make you care about so much of its ensemble and the relationships going on
Mhm.
in the ensemble, whether they're new ones, long existing ones, fractured ones, whatever it is. You're invested in this story. And even when it's more tropey, melodramatic love triangle stuff, you still care because you're like rooting for all these characters in one way or another. And yeah, I thought Citation 3 was a great return to form. Not that 2 was bad, but 2 was not as good as 1. And I think this kind of got back to what season 1 did, while also keeping what was going on in season 2. Like you have this wider ensemble that was really branched out in the second season, kept all that going, introduced new people on top of that. But also, we kind of got back to a little bit of focusing on the sex positivity, the titular sex education um, that made the first season so, I think, effective because you had that immediate hook of like the clinic and that structure. That was great. Obviously, we don't have that. Um, those rules that box on the show anymore in terms of like the drama, but I still think like the narrative was able to like keep the themes that we really liked from the beginning season and kind of continue to grow the greater show the way it's been going. So it's like a natural place to continue in terms of a new season. But yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, you know, just my first reflection of the show, and I think you summed it up really well. Like the fact that they've built out so many different characters to the point where like you can kind of take Asa Butterfield and Nakuti Gatwa and just kind of
Mhm.
like sideline them for full episodes and not even miss a beat.
No,
Um, it is really impressive. But the way that they've taken some of the characters who, Adam, season 1 into season 2, I mean, you start to soften on season 2, but season 1, you're just like, this guy's a prick, like absolute
yeah,
prick. And then season 2 starts to, or end of season 1 into season 2 starts to kind of flesh that out more. And I think his story arc in this season is maybe my favorite that the show's ever done. Seeing him grapple with his identity, come to terms with it more, come to terms with like how do you find joy, like what makes you actually happy, and like being okay with that being something like dog training and competition was just like so rewarding and like heartfelt. I was just super impressed with how they played him out and his dad as well, who I completely disliked going into this season as someone who was very
right.
obviously hard, and then fleshing his character out as like that generational family trauma. Just really, really impressive and some awesome moments with that. Did not see that coming, but was super grateful with that. What story arcs or character development did you find most gratifying for you?
Yeah, I agree about Adam for sure. Definitely didn't see it coming. It just everything about Eric and Adam's relationship I thought was really well done
Yeah.
the whole time. Honestly, it's moves at a slower pace given the kind of character Adam is, but it I think it all really works. They don't skip any steps. It's great, and
Mhm.
cover going from uh acceptance of one's identity to what position you prefer in the relationship.
Mm,
It's the show is obviously very sex positive and very open and honest about all kinds of things, really. But I thought that they did a great job with that. And also, other side of the coin, when you have Eric going to Nigeria and even the lead up to that, it's like, being openly gay, still
mhm.
repressed in many parts of the world, and can't
Yeah.
forget that. There's a lot of work to be done, and how that work gets done really depends on where you are. And yeah, everything about that was great. I think the one the one downside to Adam's dad in that storyline was you have Jason Isaacs showing up as the brother, Adam's uncle, and he's like barely in the show, like barely a character, very one note. It's like, why is Jason Isaacs playing this? Like, I love Jason Isaacs as an actor. He's fucking awesome in The Patriot, obviously, and
Yeah.
people know him as Lucius Malfoy in Harry Potter, among other things. But like, kind of wasted him. In terms of a British actor, I wish you could have saved him for a meteor male adult part in season 4 or something.
I wonder if there will be though. Especially because it seems like Alistair Petrie as Mr. Groff is getting a little bit more run in the show and fleshed out. I wonder if there's going to be some sort of reckoning between him and Jason Isaacs down the line. You can only hope because, like you said,
Please.
you don't want to lose a talent like Jason Isaacs just for a bit role like that. So, what else did you like outside of Adam and
Yeah,
Eric and the dad?
I loved Isaac and Maeve.
Mm,
I thought that was handled with the utmost care, the utmost grace. That was fantastic. Again, they don't skip any steps at all, but focusing on like what is good in a relationship for Isaac, someone in his
yeah,
condition, obviously, in a wheelchair. That was awesome. And I obviously long loved the Maeve character because of just Emma Mackey's performance, talking about the
yeah.
revelation of season 1 in terms of just a really expressive talent. In season 2, largely sidelined Maeve. She was not interacting with much of the ensemble, given where her character's what her character's up to. In this case, she's still kind of on the side, but I like how they brought her back in, and I didn't mind the eventual love triangle that resurfaced between Otis, Isaac, and Maeve, because I think they really do a good job to make you sympathize and like Isaac. And of course, you already like
Mhm.
Maeve. So I really like that stuff.
Yeah, Isaac is a character that I'm like lukewarm on. I, for some reason, just have not really grown to love in the show. But I do think by the end of the season, he was growing on me more. Who grew on me a lot this season though was Mimi Keen as Ruby Matthews.
Yes.
Otis's
The-
love interest being
Didn't see that
introduced.
coming, right? All the Ruby
Me
stuff.
neither. And not only I did like her character grow on me. I think especially when she brings Otis home to meet her dad, and then like everything that comes about after that, and how that really like builds out, kind of like why she's built some of the defense mechanisms she has. Um, but I think just in general, every time she was on the screen and really like at the center of a scene, she absolutely stole it, and she was completely magnetic. And there's a lot of talent on this show, but Mimi Keen definitely stood out to me as someone that feels like she could be out on the radar for better things to come for sure. Um, I wanted to ask, how did you feel about all the stuff with the adults? Obviously you have Gillian Anderson,
Mm.
um, and I thought she was her typical fantastic self, but I feel like her development and her character was really at the center of the story rather than on the outside as support to Otis and his story. How did you feel about everything with her?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'd like more focus on the kids just because I'm more interested in their characters, but she's so important to the story, given her
Mhm.
role as, a sex therapist and how she affects Otis and um, not Ola's, living with them and everything. It makes sense. And Anderson obviously elevates all the scenes she's in, always really good. But yeah, I mean, maybe it's a little like long in the tooth, the pregnancy stuff, right? And like the relationship with Ola's dad, it's like maybe it's spinning its wheels just a tad. I don't know.
Mhm.
Like I feel like
Yeah,
there's more like growth in like the arcs and the relationships of a lot more of the kids,
yeah,
whereas Anderson's, you know, what's her name? Jen?
Gene.
Uh, Jean. Jean's just kind of like, on the hamster wheel until she gives birth.
Yeah. I am interested to see who the real father is, because that seems to be the cliffhanger of, at the end of the season as she opens up the DNA test. Um, so that'll be a fun storyline, I'm sure, for the next season. Um, just want to shout out a couple more things from the season, right? I thought Lily, played by Tanya Reynolds, really grew on me this season, and especially like where that ended up with her releasing her story, the how that was kind of a plot mover for her um, for the story, but also like all the kids coming together to really protest against the Jemima Kirk
Mhm.
implemented rules at the school. Um, Ola kind of being in support of Lily was sidelined. I felt a little bit, but you can't give everybody a ton of show on this. I felt the same kind with Jackson, although Jackson and oh man, what was the character?
The
Cal,
nom
Tua
Yes.
Sella. I thought that was a really interesting exploration. I thought really well done. I would like to. I probably should have read a little bit about how the transgender community feels about the way that um, like transgender identity is represented in the story. But from everything I saw, I felt like it was really tastefully and thoughtfully done.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, bringing up like non-binary
Yeah,
identity and how that affects the often routine and traditional uh, divisions and classifications that happen in a school, whether it's due to conservatism, traditionalism, or due to logistics, whatever it might be. Uh, Jemima Kirk kind of nods to both sides. I think they do a good
yeah,
job of not having her tilt her hand too much on how she feels about things. She's always trying to like bring it back to bettering the school and like education, research, and all that shit, right? Even as it obviously gets too far and uh, you know absurd by the end. But yeah, I think that was a nice addition. Now, did I see like Jackson kind of being the vehicle to introduce that kind of story? Not necessarily. I guess they kind of need something for Jackson to do on this, given that like the swimming stuff has been dropped and all that. But I think I like that, and that's probably one of the better ongoing conflicts that you get when you have this new head teacher character that obviously is really effective at bringing in all this new conflict that can simmer and exist throughout the progression of the season.
yeah. Um, you know, we could probably go on for a long time talking about this show, and it's all good stuff. I think, in contrast to Nine Perfect Strangers, a lot of threads here that all feel like they're tailored together really, really well. So definitely uh, enjoyed this a lot more. Just really quickly, what were like your favorite episodes?
Yeah, I really like the beginning. I do think everything that's set up with Otis and Ruby is really good. Like you mentioned, when you go to Ruby's house, meet her dad. Thought that was really great. Yeah, and like because like then the build up, right, where Otis doesn't say "I love you" back. It's like I was like, oh fuck, I was actually
Mhm.
rooting for them, and you wouldn't think you'd be rooting for them given where we started in season one. It just speaks to the how much work this show does to get you to invest in the ensemble and how it really builds up his relationships. So yeah, I think the early going is really effective. Once we get later on, like obviously like the school trip is fun, um, but the Anderson pregnancy relationship stuff, as we said, kind of starts to wane or get a little old. So I think the beginning's really great.
Yeah, yeah. I think the beginning's really great. I do like when they do uh, the assembly to kind of get back at Jemima Kirk and get her fired. I thought that whole penultimate episode was just really, really strong. Ending in the Otis and Maeve moment. Otis and Maeve are feeling a little bit like they're on the normal people path. The timing's just never right. Kind of
Mm,
weaving in and out, which is a little
luck.
bit frustrating. I kind of wanted to see them like get together. I'm not as interested in their relationship, I think, as I am in some of the other storylines of the show.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I think
Uh,
that might just speak to they've done a really good job of establishing Otis and Maeve on their own as characters that have relationships with other people, and whether it's platonic or romantic, you know. So I like that those two characters aren't completely defined by the will they or won't they. That obviously will come back around by, we assume, season 4. Probably the last season, I'd have to imagine. They've been in what's the term? Sixth term. Fuck, whatever the
Senior
English,
year, yeah.
yeah, whatever the English schooling term is for the end of secondary school. They've been in that term the whole time. I know it's a 2 year term in England, so 4 seasons for this 2 year term. I feel like we've kind of reached the end. So I'd imagine
Yeah.
they'll announce a fourth and final season.
Yeah, and also I think all of these, like this ensemble cast of young people, are just going to start getting more and more roles, and getting them together is probably going to be hard. So I think that's probably a good call. Yeah, leave us your thoughts
It's sorry,
on
it's called sixth form for
sixth form.
the end of secondary school in England. Sorry.
So leave us your thoughts on if you liked or didn't like Sex Education season 3. I've seen mostly positive reviews for it.